000. I would like to tell you about my life and acquaint you with all the things that I have experienced in my life, and I hope that this will be a memento for my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I'm going to start at my earliest remembrances. I recall that we lived in a very small village called Estuary, Saskatchewan, when my mother took myself and my dear departed sister Nellie, put us in a sleigh and took us to my father's store. I could sense there was something unusual going on, but I didn't know what it was until I asked my brother Ben, and he told me it was Armistice Day, and that accounted for all the excitement that went on. Now I shall backtrack to I was born at the Winnipeg General Hospital on the 4th, 1515, and but my father and mother and brothers lived in a town called Melville near Winnipeg, and my mother went to use the hospital facilities for me. At any rate, after I was born, my parents moved to almost every small town going west, opening up general stores and moving on from there till we came to a little town called Burstall, Saskatchewan, Alberta, pardon me. No, that was in Saskatchewan too. And he opened up a general store. My father came from Russia. He left at the time of the pogroms, and from a small town called Selish, which is now Poland. At that time it was Russia, and he got a passport which he enabled him to get to London, where he met relatives of ours, and as I hear from other people who are more familiar with the family history, that at that time they told him to use the name of Rabinovich in the future because they felt that it would be safer for him to use that name. So that was the name that I grew up with until I decided to leave home, and I had to go to a lawyer and change my name back to the family name of Raver, which all the rest of my family did following that. I have to pause for a moment to see what else I want to say. My father always worked very, very hard, and he met my mother in Winnipeg, and they got married in Winnipeg. And as I said, subsequently kept moving west. One of the small towns we lived in was a town called Burstall, which was a very small village and quite primitive in there. We didn't no inside plumbing, no electricity. My job was to take care of the outhouse once a week, gather up all the Sears paper catalogs and everything. And at any rate, it was a very good life. My parents had a big wash tub out filled with nice hot soapy water, and we bathed each of us in turn in that tub. At any rate, my father was customers were German farmers that lived in that area, and the habit was to extend credit to them until their crops were harvested, and then they would come in and settle what they owed to him. However, depression came and their crops failed, and they could no longer take care of their bills. So they would bring in to his store butter and eggs and hides from the wolves that were roaming around there. And my father, in turn, would travel to a city, we called it a city, of 10,000 people, Medicine Hat, Alberta, at which time he would take these products that he had gotten to another friend's store by the name of Con and trade, and they would pay him, and with that money he would go to the wholesale grocers and get the groceries he needed, and back he would go. Subsequently, we moved to Medicine Hat, but my father still had the store in Burstall, and he would come on the weekends, going through very, very stressful time to get there. Many times he was stuck in the mud and had to go to a farmer to hitch up his horses and pull the car out of the mud. And he would get home and spend a couple of 5 days and then had to return there. When my brother Sam, my oldest brother Sam, was approaching time for getting ready for his bar mitzvah, my father hired a man that was supposed to coach him, and at the same time to help in the store. And I was supposed to listen in on some of this teaching too, but I was not a very good student, so Laird took my beautiful doll that I had just gotten and threw it down into the basement, and it broke, and I can remember how devastated I was by that. Subsequently, we moved to Medicine.
Okay. I have to find the spot.
Were never paid, and he came to Medicine Hat also to be with us all the time. They borrowed some money from my grandparents, my grandmother. I will backtrack a little bit. My grandparents, I'd like to show you their picture, had moved to I have to find it here. I have so much to show. Oh, here it is, over here. This is a picture of my grandmother and my grandfather. That's my grandmother. Her name was Fanny Siegel. I wanted to show you, while I was talking about my father and my mother, I wanted to show you some pictures that I have of them. This is my father, Max Raber, and here my father and my mother, Lena, and Max Raber together. Also, I'd like to show you this picture of my mother. This was taken at her 75th birthday, and we had a wonderful, wonderful time with this here birthday. People came from all over the country. Even a relative, Nancy Raber, came from England for her party. So it was a beautiful, beautiful affair. And my mother was a beautiful woman. Now I shall continue. I shall show you at this particular time my mother's two sisters, Auntie Anne and Auntie Rose. Well, whatever. This is my two aunts. I will talk to you about Auntie Anne a little later on as we go along. Well, I wanted to tell you about our move to Medicine Hat. When we moved there, I discovered a library. Although my father read us stories and talked to us a lot of Jewish history, you know, what he remembered, I found a library, and that was such a boon to me. I couldn't believe a whole new world opened up for me with a library. And I became a very ardent reader, and to this day, I read every day, at least a little bit before I fall asleep. It's like my sedative. On one of the trips that my father backtracking made to Medicine Hat, he took me with him. This family by the name of Khan had two daughters, and he wanted me to meet them, and he left me there for a week, and then picked me up on his return. Subsequently, it turned out to one of these lovely Khan girls became my sister-in-law, my brother Ben's wife, and they have celebrated their, I can't remember which anniversary it is, but they're still going strong and have a lovely family. I have to refer to my notes for a little bit because I can't remember everything offhand. Yes, in Medicine Hat, when I was about 15 or 16, I worked in a store called Lou's Department Store for $8.50 a week. And at any rate, I did that until I became old enough to go into nurses training. I had met a relative of mine by the name of B. Raber, who had gone in for nursing, and my mother had made numerous trips to the hospital for various ailments, and I decided on one of those trips, I said to my mother, I'm going to be a nurse. And she says, oh no, Jewish girls mustn't carry bedpans. I have to laugh now. I carried many a bedpan. At any rate, she acquiesced and eventually even made my uniforms for my nursing career. But that's jumping ahead. However, that isn't such a bad thing, jumping ahead, because when I graduated from nursing, I stayed in Winnipeg and worked for a little while doing private duty till I had enough money to come to California. I wanted to come to California because my grandparents, whose picture I showed you, lived here, and my mother would always take the youngest person with her when she went to visit. And of course, I was never the youngest person, so I didn't get here, and I wanted to come to California. So I came to California by Greyhound bus I had to have a letter stating that I had a job. Then I took the Greyhound bus back to Medicine Hat, and then up to Calgary to visit the council, where I got my visa, and then took the Greyhound back to California. I had this wonderful aunt, Auntie Anne, and that I showed you the picture of, and she lent me some money for some of these trips back and forth to the Greyhound with the Greyhound bus. However, my life in California began at that particular point, and I worked was at the Cedars of Lebanon Hospital through many departments, but ended up in the surgery department, and I was what they call the scrub nurse, but worked directly with the doctor. I rented with another nurse a little single apartment across the street from the hospital, and it was a type of apartment that had a Murphy bed and a little kitchen and bathroom. And my mother had written me letters. We didn't use phone calls in those days. that there were two boys by the name of Bunny, whose real name was Armin, and Murdy Saltman were hitchhiking all their way to California, hoping to get work because they were civil engineers in the defense industry. And she told them to look me up. In subsequent communication, she asked me, did they get in touch with me? And I said, no. Well, one day, our outside apartment door usually locked at 10 o'clock, and if you were expecting anybody to come, you had to go down and let them in. Well, this one night, our own individual doorbell rang. We weren't expecting anybody, and I opened the door. There were four strange fellows there at the door. One was Murdy, one was Armin, his brother, and two other fellows, I don't remember their names. At any rate, I apologized. I couldn't ask them in because my roommate was already with the bed down in the murky bed, and I asked them to give me their phone number and I would call them, and they said they didn't have a phone number as yet. Subsequently, my roommate had to return home, and I couldn't keep up at the apartment myself, so I moved back into the nurses' quarters. I'm sure a good 2 months went by when I finally got a phone call from Murdy, and I said, how come you're calling me now? He says, well, I'm at a friend's house, and I'm using the phone. Well, at any rate, from that moment on, we started going together, and subsequently decided to get married. Well, my parents came by Greyhound bus to Los Angeles, and Murdy and I were planning to get married in a rabbi's study, but we didn't figure out with my mother. She came, she found 35 relatives I didn't know I had here. She hired a hall. She sewed my wedding dress, which is a beautiful, I'll show you our wedding pictures now of Murdy and I wedding, and you will see this beautiful dress that my mother made for me and Murdy. This is our wedding picture, and it was, I was the crankiest bride that ever, I didn't want it. She hired this hall. We got married on July the 4th because Murdy could only have the long weekend off. And she, as I said, she hired this hall. She found all these relatives. She made my wedding dress, which was a beautiful dress. And it was a hot summer day, July the 4th in Los Angeles. No air conditioning in this hall. Had a big, heavy meal. And you can understand how I felt about it. But at any rate, I've survived that. And now we're going on to our honeymoon. And we start to drive, and I said to Murdy, where are we going to be staying? I said, didn't you make a reservation? He says, no. Well, anyhow, we drove and went in several places, and we finally found a little old place that we spent the first night, and the second night we spent down in a lovely place in San Diego, so it all worked out very well. As it happened, Murdy and his brother Bunny could not get a job in the defense industries, although they were both civil engineers, because they were considered alien. Can you imagine that, being considered aliens? Well, that was so, and so they had to take meager jobs, whatever they could find. Bunny, his brother, took a job down near San Diego, and Murdy went up to Ventura and worked for the gas company, just laying gas lines, that's all. At any rate, as I said, at that we were sort of getting quite serious, and unexpectedly, and at the same time I was going out with another fellow, a doctor, and unexpectedly Murdy came back that night, And I told him that I was at this, I was meeting this, and I had planned to tell this doctor that I was being engaged. But he was very upset about it. And so I had to go down to when they arrived, and there was another couple in the car, and to this day I've regretted doing what I did and told them I couldn't go out with them any longer. But we've had almost 50 years of good marriage, and eventually Marty was in the service when Barbara was 8 months old, and when he returned for the service, he went into the construction business with another elderly man and a friend of my sister-in-law, Shirley Graber, at that time. At any rate, he continued, after a while, he continued without them. He built many things in Los Angeles. I've missed a part of my story. When I came to Los Angeles, I rented a room near the hospital for $12 a month. And, but it was within walking distance and everything. And after I was married, there was a facility over the east side of Los Angeles called Mount Sinai. And the people that were in charge wanted me to go over there to work. Well, I kept refusing because I didn't want to go there. It was a matter of transportation and everything from where I lived. At any rate, they persuaded me, told me I would be getting a raise. I was getting $90 a month and working in the operating room, and compare that to $50 in Canada. So I finally was persuaded to go over, and I was in charge of the Mount Sinai Clinic and did the hiring, firing, and the complete thing. And I also taught courses for the Red Cross during that time. And it worked out very well. And we lived in a very small apartment above a garage and in front of us, and we always had visitors. Our first visitor was his brother Sherwood, who was in the service in Canada. And he came and stayed with us for maybe a week, and then he was supposed to go back. Anyhow, he stopped on the way back to pick apples and things like that, and we were sure he was overdue. We were sure he was going to end up in a break, but no, I don't know how he managed it, but he didn't do it. He was fine. Then we had my brother Manuel, who was my youngest brother, and he was in the service. He had enlisted when he was 17 in the Canadian Air Force, and he had been shot down and was a prisoner of war for a long time. We didn't know if he had even survived till somebody found his picture in some little magazine or something, and it was blurry, and they weren't sure, and they brought it in to my folks and said, "Isn't that Manuel?" And they said, "Yes," and then Red Cross, we contacted him, and it was him, and he subsequently came home. And so Manuel, in his uniform, was our next visitor. We had this little tiny apartment. We had to rent a rollaway wood bed that we pushed the little dining room aside, so we were never short of visitors. And then subsequently, when I became pregnant, we moved to another house, which was a common wall double house, and then my mother-in-law, who I'd never met Murty's parents, backtrack, because when I wanted to show them who Murty was married. So here I had these two pictures made. Let me get the other one up here. And sent them up to her. So when I was going to deliver my first child, lo and behold, they both arrived on the scene. My mother-in-law, who I didn't know, and my mother. Well, my mother-in-law came in and she took one look at me, and of course those days you stayed in the hospital 2 weeks and you came home and you stayed in bed. So I looked a little, not disheveled, and she took one look at me and she says, "You sure don't look like your picture." And then she goes over to the crib and she sees Barbara, the baby, in the crib, and she goes, "Poo, poo, poo. I didn't know about this thing, poo, poo, poo." And I started crying. I said, "Murray, she doesn't like the baby." At any rate, it all turned out very well, because she told me how to make the eggplant and trying to teach me how to make it for a long time, never did. And my mother sewed the curtains for our little house, double house, so it all turned out very well. And then Nellie came to visit me, and so everything turned out very well. We lived across the street from the school, and Barbara used to go across the street with kids that went to school, and she would stand. She was tiny for her age, and she would do this, say the flag of allegiance with the other children. At any rate, we lived in that house for quite a number of years till Murdy built us another house, a beautiful big home, not too far from there. And he did quite well in the construction business. And at one time, he developed bronchitis, and he had a very bad cold, and sort of like bronchitis, and he hacked, and a little precancerous thing started on his throat called leukoplakia. Anyhow, the doctor advised him to get away from the tension, and on a trial basis, we came to Palm Springs, and he would go back to see his doctor every few months, and then once a year, and this disappeared, and he was okay. So when we came to Palm Springs, we didn't know anyone. We rented furnished houses for the first 3 years, and Paul started high school here. I have 2 children. I just forgot to tell you. One was Barbara, and had a miscarriage in between, and Paul was 5 years difference in their ages. Can't remember what I was going to say next. What point I was at, because I jumped around so much.
Molly, tell their age of your grandchildren.
Oh, well, at the present time, Paul is 51 and Barbara is 56. I have 2 grandsons from them. Philip is 29 and Joey is 27. And Philip has a son who is my great-grandson, Elijah. And Joey recently got married this summer, and this is their wedding picture that they just sent me. At any rate, there's a little story about Luba. Luba's parents came from Russia, and
Who is Luba?
Luba is the bride. Luba is the bride. This is Joey, and this is Luba. This is Phil, and this is Karen. Karen had Jim, my son-in-law, had been married previously, and Karen was 5 years old when Barbara and Jim met, and she's been part of our family all the time. Karen is now, I think, in her 30s, and unmarried. I keep losing track of my thoughts. At any rate, I'd like to show you some other things that I've done in my life. After we moved to Palm Springs, there was only one light in town, and the College of the Desert had just opened up. And so we thought, well, we'll go out and see what they have to offer. And we thought, well, golf. We never played golf. We'll go out to play golf. So we go out and wait in line to register. And they told us that it was all filled, but to go over to the gym, maybe the instructor would take us. We went over there and he said, no, he had too long a waiting list. But as we walked out, there was a group of people with tennis rackets, and they said, we need 2 more people to join this before they'll have a class. So we looked at each other and we said, okay. So, as I said, the College of the Desert was opening up. So it came, oh yes, then we went back to register for the golf class, and we discovered, and for the tennis class, and we discovered as we stood in line, they had a morning golf class, which we'd asked for the other one. So here we were, we signed up for a morning golf class and an afternoon tennis class. And so we were driving back and forth to College of the Desert all the time. Came October, it was just in the beginning when the college wasn't even completed. The lights on the tennis court were these little tiny bulb lights, and we couldn't see, so that took care of my tennis career at that point. But not so with Murdy. He went to the public parks and he became an excellent tennis player. He was always very athletic. He had a very difficult childhood. His parents were very, very poor, and they were a family that came from Romania originally, and they had no social life. It was just within the family circle was their social life. And they had, I think their aunts must have read novels, because this is the names they were given. I'm giving you their English names. Murdy, who is the oldest. Patricia, who lives in Vancouver now, is the second one. Then Armand, who is deceased now. And, did we forget Pat? Murdy, Pat, Sherwood, and Armand. And so, I'm forgetting where I'm at.
Their names.
Their names. Oh, yes, so I think the sisters named, their aunts named them, because who else would name a Jewish or Romanian family that never went anything? Anyhow, that family was very, very poor, and Murdy took up wrestling. He became a very good wrestler, and he got a scholarship for wrestling, and he went to North Dakota and graduated from North Dakota, but the family was so poor they couldn't even help him. He did stay out of school for a semester because he didn't have $35 to do, and he had to work while he was at the school. He had to, at the dances, he had to check the coats, and then he had to wash glasses and things like that. Many times they just have a pot of beans and bread to eat. So he had a very, very difficult life, and I have such great admiration for him, how he preserved and got his education and did the things he did in his life with actually no encouragement from family at all. And his brothers all followed in his footsteps, did the same habits, went to the same school, had the same jobs. So it all worked out very, very nicely. This is a picture of Murdy. This is a picture that we had taken of Murdy and I together. I don't think it's his best picture, but nevertheless, here it is, and we're happy to have it. This is me in Acapulco doing some parasailing. my husband is always full of jokes. So when I got strapped in to this here paraphernalia to take off, Murray goes up to the fellow that was doing it and he says, I'll give you $10 to cut the line. And the fellow says, oh, no. While we were in Los Angeles, Murray and I were very active in the Los Feliz Jewish community, and we received several of his plaques, of this type of plaques that we got from the Los Feliz Jewish Center, honoring us. And when I came to Palm Springs, I did volunteer work for the Wellness Center, and this is a paper clipping, I don't think you can see it very well. Also, this is one of my nieces sent me this here picture of us when we were taken in 1935. Here is Minnie Bellsberg, who is my sister-in-law. Here is my sister-in-law, Effie Raber. Here's my deceased, I'll show my sister Nellie. Here is Effie and Minnie's older sister, Leah. And here am I, the short one in front. And they take in 1935, and the car behind it looks like it's an old Ford. I think this is about almost everything I have to display for you, and tell you what a wonderful life we've had here in Palm Springs. Murray, I'm sorry to say, passed away in 1990. He was ill for quite a long time before that, hospitalized for a long time, but he did come home, and he was home for a month when he passed away. We have many beautiful things around the house that I'd like to be able to show you, because he was so skillful in the things that he did, practically self-taught all the sculptures that he did, and I took up painting quite seriously when I came to Palm Springs, and I sometimes would come home with a painting and I'd prop it up and I'd say to him, you know, I think there's something wrong with this, but I don't know what it is, and he would go and put his finger on the right spot, and it was exactly that each time that he a critique of my work. He had an excellent eye. I don't think I can talk to you anymore, but we'll go and look around the paintings in a little while, the sculptures of his. And I've lived here in this house since Murray passed away. I had a fire in this house. I lived here with Murray in this house for many years. And then Barbara and I were on a trip to Washington, D.C. with my art committee. And while we were there, we went on a Monday, because we'd never been there before, and at 3 a.m. Tuesday, I had a fire developed in the house, and most of my paintings and my studio was burnt, and many of my very valuable books and things were burnt at the same time, my car, everything. They never did find out how the fire started, but I was fortunate enough to get a man who restored all Murray's artwork. He took each piece at a time and worked on it and cleaned it up, and we were very, very fortunate to do that. The artwork that is here in the house, my paintings, are a few of them that survived the fire. Glass was broken, there was smoke damage, but we were able to take them to a framing place, and they cleaned them up and they're just fine now. There is a sculpture over there that Murray made. It stands for each letter of the Jewish alphabet, Hebrew alphabet. I should go around and I'll point these out to you. This is one of his pieces here. Okay. This one here, I don't think I can turn. It's very, very heavy. And as you can see, it's the Hebrew alphabet. I think it's supposed to be, each letter stands for the Ten Commandments. This is the head made of alabaster. And this is a cast bronze family group, another piece that he made. There's this piece here, another piece of sculpture of his. And if you wish to pan around the room, you may be able to see some of the paintings. I'd like you to take this one here, because I think this is an outstanding one. Now we have a few more in the other room. There's a stained glass thing over there. So I'm going to turn on the light for it. Maybe it'll show up better. There's light behind it. I'll turn the light off for a moment. Is that better? This is another piece of the sculpture here. Did you get the one on TV? There. Did you get that? is a ketubah, all hand done, given to me in recognition of the work that I did for the Jewish Family Service and the Jewish Federation. And it had to be redone because they spelled my name wrong, and it's all hand done. But here it is, gracing the wall of my home, and I love it. This is one of Verdi's fine acrylic works that he did. He was planning on making another one for Paul, our son. You know, I think in talking about things, I neglected to talk about Paul and Lauren and my two beautiful grandchildren. Eileen is 5 years old, and little Max is almost 3. He'll be, in June, he'll be 3. And I'm very fortunate. I have very devoted children. They are so good to me, and they vie. I should be a little bit more modest, but they really vie to have me be with them, you know, at certain times. If I've been at Barbara's for Hanukkah this year, I must promise to be at their house for Hanukkah next year. And so it goes, Thanksgiving and all the holidays. I have just recently this year, I stopped going in to visit them for the high holidays because we have such a wonderful rabbi here that I felt that I would like to stay and enjoy him. And I have a group of single women. We go do things together afterwards, and we are getting along very well without traveling to Los Angeles and to Westlake. I would like to introduce my dear cousin, Edie Raber, who has been the instigator of this project and has been so helpful to me. Has made numerous trips back and forth to the supplier of our equipment, and has just been absolutely wonderful. And I thank you very, very much. It's really, you know, this is going to be for a lifetime to my children and my grandchildren, and they will thank you too. So she's going to ask me some questions that I hope I can answer. So now we're going to hear from Edie.
Okay. Molly, what is your full name?
My full name is Molly Saltman. I never had a middle name. Many people ask me about my middle name. I never had a middle name. My mother had too many children to give us middle names.
Your maiden name?
My maiden name was Molly Raber.
Do you know what your first name means?
Yes, my name is Malka, and Malka means queen.
Does your family name have a special meaning?
No, that's a family name because, from what I understand, there are many relatives that have the name Malka.
And your family name, Raber?
Raber, extensive family that I've just become known in the past few years.
What is the meaning of Raber?
It means redhead.
When were you born?
I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, General Hospital, but I think I've mentioned that before.
Yeah. When?
At the 15th, 1915. And I'm now approaching my 85th birthday.
Where were you born? Hospital, home?
Yes, I was born in the hospital, Winnipeg General Hospital.
Okay. Where did your family first arrive?
My father first arrived to Canada. I think in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
What possessions did he bring with him?
None.
What language did he speak?
I presume he spoke Russian and Yiddish.
Do you know when and where your grandparents were born?
I do not know where they were born.
Do you know where they are buried?
Yes, my mother's parents have been buried in Los Angeles, and on my father's side, in Canada.
What were the full names of your own parents?
My father's name was Max or Motto Raver. My mother's is Lena Pearl Raver, but her maiden name was Siegel.
When and where were they born and brought up?
My father was born in a place called Sellish, which is part of Poland now, and it came as an adult to Canada. And my mother also left Russia. She said Odessa is where she was from. She spent about 4 months en route in France and could speak some French. Proceeded to England and from thence to Winnipeg.
What were your parents like?
Well, my father was a very upright man. He's one of these men that it felt that education was very important to him, to us, to be brought up Jewishly and do unto others as they do as you would like them to do, as the saying goes.
Did you have many aunts or uncles?
Yes, I had 3 aunts on my mother's side, and on my father's side, I had, I'm trying to think, I think also three aunts and a couple of uncles. The uncles I did not know. I think I may have met one of them, but
Who were your favorite relatives and why?
well, one of my husband's relatives, Aunt Mamie, I just loved her. She was the sweetest person. It was just a perfect lady. She was very kind and very gentle, and she was one of my favorite aunts. The other favorite aunt that helped me a great deal was my favorite aunt Anne, who lived in Los Angeles and many times lent me some money, transported me back and forth to Canada.
What were the names of your brothers and sisters?
My oldest brother was Sam. The next brother was Ben. Sam is deceased. Ben is living in Los Angeles, married to Effie, one of my girlhood friends, as I mentioned previously. The next one was myself. After that came my sister Nellie Lachelle and Esther, and then the baby was Manuel. Manuel is still running the family store in Medicine called the Raver Department Store.
What were they like as young people? Do you remember any special or funny stories about them?
Oh, well, I had this friend, Minnie, who is now Minnie Bellsberg. I used to walk to school with her all the time, and we'd save our nickels and pennies, and we'd pass the confectionery store on the way to school. At any rate, one day we must have had a few words, and I turned to her, Minnie, and I said, Minnie, are you sore? And she wouldn't answer me, so I said, use Zambuck. That was a type of salve that was popular in those days.
What did you look like?
I was chubby.
What were you like as a young child? Were you serious?
Yes, I was quite serious as a young child. I had a lot of responsibility put up when I was 11 years old. And my mother had to go to the hospital, and I had to take care of the things at home. And she told me one day to make Jell-O for dessert, and I made Jell-O for dessert. And I came to the hospital the next day, and I said, Mom, I didn't do it. Something went wrong. The Jell-O would never set. I didn't know enough to keep stirring and stirring and stirring till the sugar was all melted. And also on the way to the hospital, past a little confectionery store, and I would bring her a little bag of toasted marshmallows, just because I love them.
Did you have a favorite teacher, and what was he or she like? How did they influence you?
No, I did not have a favorite teacher.
Did you work as a child?
As a child, when I was 15 to 16, I worked in Lewis department store, getting $8.50 a week, and the Lewis department store is now called the Labor Department Store in Medicine, Alberta.
What did you like doing most as a child? What games or instruments did you play?
I played piano, and of course we played hopscotch, and all these usual games that children play, Auntie, I'll go over. We played that one, and of course my favorite pastime was reading.
Did you have a favorite pet or toy?
Well, I had a toy that related to you about the doll that I was enamored with.
Okay, who were your best friends, and what did you do together?
Well, in Medicine Hat, my best friends were the con girls, Minnie and Effie, and I didn't care very much to speak for the boys, Jewish boys, there, because they were their brothers, and I knew them too well.
What was your first experience with death? What happened?
My first experience with death was when I was in nurses training in my probationary period. Another nurse and I were sent in to prepare a woman, an elderly woman that had passed away, and we had to prepare her. There's a certain formula that you went through, get a body ready before it went to the morgue. And since this was for each of us a very frightening experience, we started to do silly things. We made the woman's eyes crossed and everything, and we'd get a hysterical laugh. And that wasn't a very nice thing to do.
Okay, Molly, I think that's it.
That's
Okay,
it.
the rest of the questions are to do with...
I just want to say I am very blessed with my family. I must have done something right, but I was unaware of it at the time, that my children have turned out to be so wonderful and so thoughtful and considerate of me, and I must divide my time equally between them to keep a peace in the family. I really wanted to relate to you something that I'd forgotten a few moments ago. When I first came to Palm Springs, it was a very small little town, and there was only one light in the town at the corner of Tarquitz, and there was nothing very much going on in the town. So I decided that we needed to have a little culture here, and I bought a very expensive camera, and I went into Los Angeles, and I would tape artists and writers and musicians, anybody that was connected in any way, any facet of the arts, everything to types of shipping art. It didn't matter what it was. I explored each and every facet of it, and I interviewed many very important people. I even have Lily Pons on my tape, and she happened to be living in Palm Springs at the time, and I did her. Real Reaganite. She was very much for Reagan. Anyhow, I had these tapes, and I was on the air in Palm Springs 3 times a week for 15 minutes at a time. But then I had to learn how to splice them so they could get the commercial in. And that took me quite a while. I had to go into Los Angeles, and a young man that was recommended showed me how to do that. And I had about 85 tapes. And as I said, they were on there. And then I'm creative, but I'm not a business person. and I didn't want to go out and look for a sponsor after that, so I was on the after that. And I had those tapes, and one day I get a phone call from a lady at the Huntington Library near Pasadena. And she introduced herself, and she said, she came across in their archives that I had done an interview with a Mr. Donahue from the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And she wanted to know if I still had the tape. Well, when I got a letter, I was so surprised, and I phoned her, and she'd never been to Palm Springs. So I invited her to come to Palm Springs, and I brought out all my tapes, and she says, what are you planning to do with these? And I said, well, I haven't made any decisions. She said, would you like to donate them to the Smithsonian? I said, all right. So now they are there in the archives of the Smithsonian, and I think that's quite an achievement.